welcome back. I hope you're all doing good. Hope your trucks are running good. Um, I had a productive week. Made a run out west. It's about a 3,300 mile week, and I wanted to recap it for you, folks. I put my numbers out there. I'm not bragging because there are people who make lots more than me, and what I do is I'm trying to let you guys know what my situation is, what you might expect if this is what you want to do. Got my own authority. I do power only. I don't own a trailer. And for the most part, I like to run back and forth at the house and be home a lot. So when you're critiquing my video, just keep those things in mind. So last week, I picked up a load Tuesday near the house, and this load went to Utah. Excuse me. This load, I've been watching it for quite a while. And a side note, that's one thing. Even if you're not picking your own loads yet, if you're heading in that direction and that's something you want to do, what you can do now is get on the load boards and get familiar with the freight in your area, because a lot of these loads they're the same loads that run over and over and over. One of the things I did with this particular load, I'd seen it on the load board for several weeks, and some of these loads you can watch them on the load boards and you can see the agent keeps jacking up the price and jacking up the price until somebody jumps on it and takes that load. This particular load, I could go on to their website and see the actual bidding process. Somebody would bid 5,000 for it, and then a few minutes later, you could see it changing back and forth. And what I did was, on these loads that are like that I might want to run later, I would screen capture it right before, at the last minute when, the load, somebody was going to take the load or when it would be ripped off the board, so that I would know later what that load went for. So this one is one in particular where I knew exactly what I was going to get out of that load. So what I did is I went in and put a bid on it. I bid way over, just to see. And the bidding process went back and forth, and I made a video on that last week. But so I got it for a little over $3 a mile, and it was a very light load. Took that out to Utah. So on the way out there, I'm looking for loads because when I picked up this load, I had everything planned out, but it took so long to pick up the load and the problems that I had with it that I wasn't sure exactly if I was going to get out there in time to pick up a load that day after I dropped this one. So it was one of those things where I had to wait and see, the closer I got, the more sure of it I was. So that day that I was supposed to drop the load, I saw two very good loads on the board coming out of the same place, going to the same place. And the rest of the rates out there, you guys know any place out in that western area, the rates coming back east usually aren't very good. They know they've got you, and so they don't go very far on the rates. So these couple of loads I was watching that were paying real good, very light loads on top of that. I just wasn't sure if I was going to drop this load off in time and have enough time to get over here, and it turned out that I didn't have enough time. So I was just going to wait till the next morning, see what was available. So about an hour later, I checked back, and those loads, one of them was gone and the other one was back on the board, but it was to pick up the next day. And what had happened was some driver had taken it and then canceled. So man, I got really lucky. I didn't try to negotiate or nothing. I called them up and said, hey, give me that load. I want it. Maybe I could have got a couple extra $100 on it, or they could have, somebody could have called up while I was trying to negotiate and taken the load out from under me, and I would have lost $1,000 because the rest of the loads weren't paying good. So I jumped on it and brought that back. So I dropped that on Monday and took the trailer back and dropped it. It was a Swift trailer. That was a good thing about the first load I took out to Utah. It was a Swift load, and I was able to use their trailer as a loadout to get any load I wanted and come back to Texas. So I love the way their system works for that. And so for the week, 1 week, it was $9,550. The load I took out paid $4,250. Excuse me, got the COVID. The load I brought back paid $5,300. So $9,550 gross. I have my own authority, so I don't give anybody a percentage. Well, let me take that back. I factored both loads. So I did give up 2.75% to factor those loads. But other than that, my fuel was just a little over $1,200 for the week. Little over $1,200. And then, you average all those other bills out over a weekly, time frame. Your tags, permits, load boards, all the other little things together. Insurance is my next biggest bill is my insurance, which is a little over $300 a week. So adding all that stuff in, I brought home about $7,800. Boom, $7,800 in my pocket. Let me say this. I get a lot of comments that I get the notification in my email saying, hey, you got a comment, and I can see what the comment is. But when I get back over to YouTube, for whatever reason, YouTube erases a lot of comments. I don't know if they notify you guys that they said, or if they say, that your comment wasn't correct. But, some of them are, just idiots being idiots, using foul language and threatening language, but some of them are just regular comments that YouTube just, I don't know if they have some kind of algorithm and the computer sees a certain combination of words and throws them out. But one of the comments that I got on a video that I put out about my gross and my net about a couple of months ago. So I think I brought home $7,000, a little over $7,000 on a previous video I did. And so someone said, well, after you pay your insurance and your health insurance and taxes and all that stuff, you might as well be a company driver. And I don't know of any company driver job where you can bring home $7,000 a week. I don't know. Maybe you guys do. But if you're making $7,000 a week as a company driver, more power to you. But everybody's situation is different. And one of the reasons I don't talk about taxes is because everybody's situation is just so completely different. My tax situation is going to be completely different than yours. My bills are going to be different than yours. So my net and your net, they're going to be the same thing, but the bills that you pay after that may be different. Here's what I'll say about taxes. I don't pay hardly any taxes. It's because of my situation. I have 3 kids. I own my own home. I've got my business structured in such a way that it saves me money on taxes. For the past several years, we've had an accountant doing those things for us. So at the end of the year, and I've seen a couple of you guys saying, well, you got to project paying 30% in taxes. Folks, like I said, I'm no tax expert. I'm not going to go into taxes too much, but I'll say this. If you're paying 30% in taxes, you need to fire your accountant, especially if you own your own business and you're doing this trucking thing. It's good to project that and put that 30% in the bank, and then, find out later you don't owe as much, but you should not be paying 30% in taxes. But anyway, everybody's tax situation is different. And I can tell you over the past years that mine is well under 10%. The other thing is, health insurance is expensive. Luckily, I get mine through my wife's work, And benefits aren't free. We still have to pay for it, but it's not as expensive as if I was single and was, paying for it through some agency. So yeah, there are those other little things that are different for every single person, and you just can't project your situation onto somebody else. So out of that $9,550, I brought home about $7,800. And then this week, I'm going to do a lot of maintenance on the truck. So I'm going to spend probably another $1,000 tax write-off. Doing little things on the truck. I'm going to put some new shocks on it. I'm going to service the APU. I might go ahead and change the oil since I'm doing all that other stuff. I think I got about 11,000 miles on that oil. So yes, everybody's situation is different. The number one thing that probably separates me from most people out there is I don't have a truck payment. I paid cash for my truck. And that is a big one. That's a huge one. Because I've been there and I've been in the same situation as most of you guys where I was shelling out $800-900 a week for a truck payment. And also when you're doing that, your insurance is a little bit higher because you've got a newer truck. So that's a few things you got to keep in mind. Everybody's situation is different. So, but the reason I do these videos, and I'm one of the few out there, I don't see anybody else giving their gross numbers, on a weekly basis in their net. But the reason I do that is just for informational purposes. You can look at what I've done and know that I'm doing power only. I don't own a trailer, and that's what I'm out here doing. Now, last week, it was a great week. It was, the average rate per mile was nothing special, around $3 per mile, but I did get a lot of miles in. So that I just want to, put that information out there so you can make an informed decision about what you want to do. If you just want to stay where you're at, if the money is the most important thing to you and you're trying to make a move in that direction, or if you're like me and you want to be home often and only run the lanes that you want to run, what kind of money you might make. And that's what I'm doing, folks. I've received a lot of comments and of people that they think that they owe an allegiance to these companies they lease onto, and that brings up my comment of the week. And this might be something I might do every week because I get a lot of good comments, a lot of good information from you guys, a lot of helpful comments, and then I get some like this guy. So a guy named Mark, he watched one of my videos of a review I did on Mercer where I talked about their load board and how I didn't necessarily like it because I couldn't run the lanes I wanted. There were no freight in the lanes that I wanted to run, and there was no freight around my house. There would be days at a time where there wasn't a load within 300 or 400 miles of my house. So, it just didn't fit the things that I wanted to do with my business. So Mark goes on there and makes a comment and says, and it's a good one, maybe you should just push your wheelbarrow around your backyard. And I laughed because that's it's humorous. And so I didn't want to make any assumptions about Mark and his situation. So I commented back, said, do you work for Mercer? What's your situation? And this is where, this is what won him the comment of the week. So I asked him, do you work for Mercer? And he says, no, I was only at Mercer for 3 months. 3 months. It wasn't right for me. But I have friends there who make lots of money, and when somebody bitches, I pretty much know who the problem is.
Well, allow me to retort.
Folks, all I can say is, Mark, if you had watched my review before you went to Mercer, it might have saved you 3 months of time and trouble. just like you, Mercer wasn't right for me. And that's why I did the reviews, to let people know exactly what went on and why I left. But if a place isn't right for you, why would you tell somebody they should stay there and stick it out and do whatever that company tells them to do? I don't know. Mark lost me there, but anyway, comments of the week. Thanks, Mark. So, as I've said many, many times, you don't owe allegiance to any of these companies. You've taken the time, you've put out all the effort, the blood, sweat, and tears to start your own company so that you could do things the way that you wanted to do, so that you wouldn't have to be a company driver and go where you're told, go home when they can, they let you go home. You guys know the drill. It just, if you're going through all the trouble to start your own company, why would you go someplace that didn't let you do your business the way you wanted to? And obviously Mark figured that out and moved his business. So that's what I did too. And I asked Mark, I said, maybe you just need to catch up on my videos and see where I'm at now. Because Mark, I'm doing the lanes that I want to do. I'm getting his home as much as I want to get home, and I'm loving it. That might change in a few months. Might be something I've just totally overlooked, and I'll get to that point and I'll say, you know what, I don't love this anymore. And at that point, I'll move on if I need to. But folks, I just want to thank all of you again. The channel just sort of just busted out there about 3 weeks ago. I don't know what happened, but it was down at that 700 subscriber mark, and then all of a sudden, boom, there it goes. And I really appreciate it. Appreciate all the kind comments, and even you guys that are being a little bit ridiculous. I try to answer all the comments and try to be respectful about it. So thanks again. And those are my numbers, and hopefully you can look at those and see if this is something that you want to do. I don't run that many miles on a weekly basis, so don't, just take that into account. Is that something that I could do every week? No. To tell you the truth, if I did that load again, I'd probably end up getting a load coming back that paid a lot less. But I would say doing $8,000 a week gross would be a fairly easy thing to do. Probably be a little easier running in different direction. You wouldn't have to get quite as many miles on it. But running out in those lanes that I like to run, you just have to get those extra miles in. And hey, I don't mind it, especially when I'm running in those areas where there's no traffic, the scenery is beautiful, and it makes me happy.